Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking around. Aside from the fact that we're talking about this Rex Tillerson appointment, which, I mean, I don't know. I hear what you're saying, but it means it has to mean more than just everybody or the key players. Because let's just talk about his relationship with Russia, just for example. Okay, so Rex Tillerson, as the Secretary of State, is cozying up to Russia, and which is not a bad thing necessarily on its face, except that it makes the Poles, as you have been historically so apt to point out, it makes the Poles scared, the Poles, the Lithuanians, and the Estonians scared to death that we're going to do or pull back our commitment for making sure that Russia doesn't come in and swallow them back up, and Ukraine as well, which according to you, they live in constant fear of all the time.
That is correct.
That Russian aggression against those former satellite countries is a problem. So how do you a businessman goes in and sees the best bang for his buck, right? And the best bang for his buck is to do a business deal or to do some kind of trade deal or some kind of treaty with Russia that undermines every single NATO relationship in that immediate area. And he says, well, he goes back to his boss, Donald Trump, and he says, well, hey, we don't care about this because look, we might be losing figuratively $2 billion with Poland, Estonia, and Lithuania, but we're making $10 billion with Russia. Except that's terrible foreign policy because you can't trust the Russians, right? Isn't that what we've always said?
Now, there's two questions in front of us. One, is Rex Tillerson a good choice for Secretary of State? Well, because of my new position, I don't want to say one way or another. Mm-hmm. But Blake outlined my fears very well. Number two, the second question is, which is the first one, is somebody who is a head of a multinational, does that qualify you to be Secretary of State? I think it does if you're running a giant multinational. I think that you can have just that kind of experience.
George Soros.
I don't like George Soros, but the truth is he doesn't run giant corporation. What he does is and same thing there. They are both investors.
Bill Gates.
They're all right. I would go with Bill Gates.
Bill Gates is qualified to be
Bill Gates because he actually runs something. He's not just an investor, which is what Soros and
would Steve Jobs be qualified?
Oh, I think Steve Jobs would be the best of them all. Don't you think? Honest to God, don't you think?
No,
so that's the thing. My deal with this is I don't understand people's opposition to Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, of all people that were considered, would have been the best Secretary of State, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Because he already knows everything. He is a titan of business, and not only that, he ran the IOC during a period of time when it was really, really murky, and he brought some esteem back to the IOC, and he knows these people around the world. He understands foreign politics, I believe, better than Tillerson.
But for some of his craven political positions, that not him. I mean, Yes. I don't think that's beyond. I don't think that's we can argue that. But for some of his craven political positions, I think that he would be a fine representative of the United States. He's fairly well respected, if thought to be a little bit of a goofball around the world. But I don't know. It shows this penchant for Donald Trump picking guys like this. I mean, But here's the other question: is it significant to you at all? And this is the first nominee for Secretary of State in the first term. Hasn't been a woman since H.W. Bush. I mean, John Kerry, obviously not a woman, but Hillary Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, Madeleine Albright. I think that covers them, right? Yeah. I think because who was W's first Secretary of State? Oh, Colin Powell. Never mind. Yeah. Scratch that. But we've had women in that role for a long period of time, prominent women in that role for a long period of time, and I'm just curious if that. Well, Colin Powell they brought in as the sort of the experience.
Yeah.
Stop. So and. I don't care about that.
Well, I think, honest to goodness, I'm going to go back to Trump is trying to get. I go back. He's a businessman, and he's trying to get the best people he can get into that position, whether they agree with him or not.
But see,
and he's also trying to take into account who he can get through the because these people have to be approved. They just don't go, well, hey, there you go. And so I think he's also trying to get people that people will approve. The other thing, particularly with the Secretary of State position, it is often a strategy for a new president taking over from an administration that is not friendly, like Democrats to Republicans and vice versa. It is often a strategy that they will throw out a sacrificial lamb to get nailed, right, and rejected, and then that way he gets the person he really wants later on. That's something that happens quite a bit of the time. That also could be the strategy.
Let me ask you this question. That I just
forgot.
That just kind of went out of my head. But
how to get to be this good looking?
Well,
that's an question I can answer.
Sure.
Genetics.
Okay.
My dad was halfway decent looking. My mom was cute. So here I am.
Fair enough.
And I can't explain my brother Joe. Sorry, man. You got short end of that stick. So.
Well, what's next?
Well, the truth of the matter is, I'm not quite sure.
I remember what.
All right.
You keep talking about Trump, gathering all these people that won't be yes men and women around him. What evidence do you have of any of that? And what evidence? And honestly, the evidence that he prefers people who speak their own mind in his orbit has been countermanded by his entire presidential campaign, where all he did was surround himself with yes men and women. And the only people that he would listen to were his own kids. So, I mean, you're making these assertions and just as if they just are the way that you're saying, and I don't think that is even remotely true.
Well,
Michael Flynn was the biggest yes man of the entire campaign for him.
All right, maybe I should. You're asking me why is he pointing these people? Now, James Mattis is not a yes man. Everybody can agree to that. It doesn't make a difference what it is. He got relieved of command because he wouldn't go along with the yes man policy with Obama, all that other stuff. The other Marine Corps general, whose name escapes me currently, is known to be a person of his own mind. Sam Clovis, a person of his own mind. If Lewandowski was really a yes man, right? And he kind of got in there, and his kids got rid of him. Trump got rid of him. So not everybody who's being appointed is going to be a yes man, but I do believe that these people have political and business ties that are not dependent upon Donald Trump. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. James Mattis doesn't have to come out of retirement. The other two generals that he's
appointed, if they want any kind of political power, they're all tied to him. What he's doing is making it worse, if that's the case, because Rex Tillerson says to himself, he wakes up in the morning and he looks in the mirror and he says, I've bled for this. I've worked for Exxon my entire life. I started back in the 70s, just right out of school, and worked my way up. And by God, I am now the CEO of this company, and I'm making all this money. And until Apple blew the doors off everybody, we had the number one valued company in the world. We had the most successful oil and energy company in the history of mankind ever to happen. That's something to be proud of. Absolutely, it is. But where do I go from here? I think he's probably in his 60s, right? His upper 60s. Where do I go? Where do I go from here? The only thing that I can do that I haven't done yet is to get some political power. And that's to either run for office or get involved in some kind of campaign and tie myself to somebody on the rise, which is what he did. He owes, because of this nomination now, and if it gets confirmed, he would owe his entire political career to the success or failure of Donald Trump. You don't think that's going to affect some of how he treats President Trump? Of course it would. People that have been elected on their own right, like a Hillary Clinton, doesn't owe her political fortunes to Barack Obama whatsoever.
No, she doesn't. And we're going to come back with that kind of stuff right after this break. We want to thank all of our sponsors: Des Moines Anesthesia, Halo Capital, the Venus Law Firm of Petrosian Associates. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We couldn't do what we do without you. We'll be back